So let's tell the story of my KPR. You want to hear it? Probably not, but if you're watching this, you may want to. I don't know. I'm just going to tell the story anyway. I went for a ride. You know, I did a video just a couple days ago that I uploaded that has to do with the fact that what it takes to register this bike. It wasn't a difficult process, but if you saw that video, then you know it took a few steps to get there. What I want to talk about today is what has this bike been like? What do I see for the future? If there is a future, if I'm going to keep it, that's part of my debate now. Should I sell it? Should I keep it? I don't know. And I'll tell you the pros and cons of what I've got with this bike. So I'm going to tell you the first off pro for it as far as why I like it is the looks. Now, yes, it looks like a full-size bike because essentially, as far as the frame, the styling, the engineering, layout, it's pretty much a full-size bike, except for the fact it does have that 200cc motor. You know, and 200 cc's is plenty if you're in a city. Like if you're in a large city and you're got a highway speed of 55 miles an hour, then this is going to be plenty. You know, some of the highway speeds around your house may even be 65. You know, it'll cut it. It'll do the 65. The problem you run into is when you get to where the speed limit is 75 and every single person around you is doing 80, 85. It's not going to cut it. Gotten this one up to 77 on where the speed limit was 75, but on the GPS it was just registering that it was doing right under 75. I think it was like 74.6, 74.9, something like that. So right at 75 miles an hour. So that's a con. A con would be, of course, the top speed. Now, what can you do to change that? Of course, I do have the exhaust. Some people say it gives a little more power. Some people say that it doesn't. I've found that it gives it a little more of that low-end power and sound, but I don't really think that it affected the top end too much. As the bike broke in, the top end has gotten better. Mileage wise, we are at, I want to say a hair under 400. We are at 363, so yeah, right under 400 miles. It has broken in. It's already had 2 oil changes. So you know, I rode it for a few miles, turned around, change the oil. Okay, the reason I did that is the oil that came in it wasn't great oil, so I put Mobil 1 4T racing oil. Takes high heat. It's really good for the clutch system in here, and it actually quietened up the motor a bit. It made the motor sound a little more smooth. Now, I just changed the oil in it about 6 to 8 miles ago. It needed it. It was as black as the plastic on that bike, man. I could not believe how dark the oil was. Now, probably can't tell, but let's see. So after 8 miles, the motor looks like honey. Look at that. The motor looks good. So the motor oil looks good. So it looks like honey. A positive on this bike, another pro, it only takes 34 ounces of oil. So you get you 2 quarts. You use the first quart in its entirety, and the second quart you pour 2, maybe 3 ounces in there, because sometimes it does take a little bit more. Depends if you get all the oil out or not. Then otherwise, you buy you another full quart next time to change it, and you still have oil left over. So basically, once you initially buy the first 2 quarts of oil, you're only going to buy 1 quart at a time for a long time, because you're going to use that other little bit of oil. It has not drank oil. Now, I know that it shouldn't with that many miles, but people say these inexpensive Chinese motors, as they'll say, drink oil. This one hasn't. As much oil as I put into it is as much oil as I got out, because I actually measured it, putting it back in the bottle and then checking it out. So it didn't burn oil on me. I have changed the spark plug on it. I have changed the oil. I have changed the chain. Another negative would be that you really have to do that when you get the bike. So you buy a brand new bike and then you got to turn around and put a new chain, put a new plug in, put fresh oil in. These are just good things, good practices. That's, you know, in a way a negative, because, you know, if you buy a Honda, well, the next time you buy oil is going to be that first change. It'll be, I think, at 500 miles on the Hondas I had. I think my Suzuki, they told me to come in at like 750. R6, I think it was 650, something like that. So every motor, they'll tell you, they basically want you in that first oil change. Here's a pro for the Lifan. You can change oil yourself. There's no actual filter, there's a screen. You save money on that, and it is easy to change oil. Just remember which way the screen comes out whenever you pull that plug off the side, because there's a big spring tensioner and a screen, not an oil filter. So positive on this bike, the price. Negative on this bike, the price. So I've talked about selling this bike. I've got, what, I don't know, maybe 3,000 in it with all the accessories all the time. Shipping, taxes, title, because I said in my last video, look at that, it's got a license plate on it now, we're legal. So if you're watching this video, you want to know, what do I think of this bike? I think if you are getting your first bike, or you need a city bike, or you have a scooter and you want to get somewhere a little bit quicker, have a little more power, this is going to do it. I think that if you've been an experienced rider, if you had an R6, if you had a leader bike, this ain't gonna do it. Of course not. Now, if you're new to enjoying the freedoms of two wheels, it's something. Just realize you're gonna have to wrench on it yourself. Every single bolt I've taken off this bike, and here comes a negative, I've had to get some Loctite to put on the bolt to put in, because the reason the bolt came out or it was loose, no bolt had Loctite on it. Now, I've put lock washers, I've put lock nuts, and I've put Loctite all over this bike. You remember that when I put the exhaust on, down here at the bottom, right there, I put on a stainless steel lock nut and lock washer and replaced the factory one. But if you look here on their nut that they used right here, this thing has a ton of vibration and it's never loosened up. On the back side, that's a regular old nut, but it's just those larger nuts on this bike don't seem to loosen up. It's all the ones that are smaller, they will loosen in a heartbeat. So the price is a pro and a con. It's inexpensive to get it, but you're gonna pay for some stuff on the back end. Now, what I really like about this bike is that I have it, it goes, and I'm gonna tell you, I think it sounds good for the price. Let's fire it up. Sounds good. 200cc bike. The pipe is just right. It's a factory racing exhaust. That's the KP Club racing exhaust. Sounds amazing. The headlights on here are LEDs. They are bright. This camera can't pick it up, but it actually has these two Z lightning bolt patterns with a standard bulb in the middle. Well, there you can see it right there. See that Z pattern or lightning bolt pattern there, and of course that in the middle. I'm gonna tell you what though, the bright on this thing is sick. So the bright light on here, boy, that will smoke traffic, because I've ridden with the bright on to get some people's attention that were creeping out on me, and they flashed their brakes back at me, let me know they saw me. So there's some positives to this bike. The paint is actually really nice on this one. Now I found out this, let me turn it off so you can hear me better. The paint job on this is actual paint. So the tank is actual paint. This is plastic. What I thought was a painted front here on my fender, guess what? That's plastic with stickers. Plastic, of course, plastic. All the rest is plastic. The only other painted part is on the frame. And the frame paint, well, it ain't too pretty. It's just basic black paint, but it's not high end, if that makes any sense. It doesn't have the gloss and the texture that the tanks do. Now you can find the tanks for sale online in case you drop it, dent it, hurt it, break it, but they're fairly expensive for a tank. I mean, they're in line with major brands. I did find out something. If you do it quick enough, see, I didn't do it quick enough, but if you still flip your kill switch back to the on position while it's doing that, you can get the fuel pump to pressurize. So remember I said when you first buy one, you got to get that pump to pressurize to get it to start. So quite a few positives on this bike, but again, quite a few negatives. You always get what you pay for. If you're expecting an R6, you're not going to get it. If you're expecting something that's the same class as what people get scooters or introductory bikes, it'll do it. It'll do every bit of it. Now, as I said, I was debating selling it. $19.99. Yeah, I'd take a loss on it, and that's going to be a negative. You're not going to get your money back on it. But then again, why do I want to sell it? Because I want another 600cc bike. Had them before. I've had some 800cc bikes, obviously cruisers, but I kind of miss that highway ability to hang at 75 miles an hour with more throttle to go. I probably don't need it. I do most of my driving in the city. It's just one of those things, man. People, you always want a bigger bike, so that's a negative. You always want a bigger bike. A positive is it's not too big. It's foolish of me to sell it. It's probably smarter that I keep it, just for the sheer fact. The reason I got rid of my bigger bikes, if you didn't know, laid it down. My fault. I was going too fast, and I'll have to say, the bike did what it was supposed to do, and I didn't. I went too fast, pushed it past where it was supposed to go, and it put me on the ground, and it scared me, and didn't ride for a while. I'm older, I'm more mature. 200 cc's, I'm fighting that youth, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I liked having, you know, well, if you've ridden bigger bikes, you know. It's kind of like a snake, though. You shouldn't handle it because you know it's going to bite you. So I might want to keep this one. It's got enough power to get you hurt. I guarantee you that. Listen to me. Any and every bike can go too fast. It can go fast enough to kill you. Because there are other people, I rode this thing today. There are other people, I saw them rolling out on me. I saw them. So I had to slow down to 30 in a 45. And they finally got fed up with me going so slow, they stopped. But you know what? I'm here and they're where they're supposed to be. We didn't hit one another. Please go slow. Be careful. You know, do the proper speed limit. Always scan in front of you. Always look next to you. Always wear your gear. Always have your helmet. That backpack's got the, it's not Kevlar, but it's got the plate inside of it. Always wear your gloves. Always wear boots. If you have jackets, wear your jackets. If you have your leathers, your pants, wear them. You know, that's just with the territory, with a bike this size or bigger. So, you know, here's some positives, here's some negatives. I'm really on the fence. You know, maybe watching this video myself, I'm going to tell myself, just keep it. You know, just run it till it dies, and once it's run its course, look at another bike. This thing could last a year, this thing could last 5 years. I don't know. Depends on how I take care of it. You know, I'm meticulous with my service, but then again, I could have a you know, catastrophic fault in the engine, transmission. It happens on any brand. Believe me, I had a Suzuki that it lived in the shop more than I lived on it, and that's why that one's gone. Because it just, that thing, I think it was a lemon, but you know, they wouldn't take it back. Believe me, I tried. I propositioned the company to get it back and give me a different one. Anyway, so here's my Lifan KPR 200 overview. Here's some positives, here's some negatives, the pros and cons. You decide for yourself, you know. But always, like I said, be safe on anything you're on. Have fun, get on 2 wheels, and watch out for 4. Have a great day, everybody.